We're still doing this, you know. It has been a while since my video on the first Love Live, but I'm actually going to skip the second and third one and move straight into Superstar with its conclusion. I've already seen Nijigasaki and Sunshine, so a video on them will be happening eventually. But might as well drop the Superstar one since it's more recent. We're going to be doing the same system of ranking these girls in tiers, so pause if you're interested in seeing what each tier actually means. I'd also like to mention that you might be seeing some characters be in different tiers from the previous videos, and that just is because sometimes I might change my opinions on them for the better or worse, so do be keeping that in mind if you're confused and if certain characters are not in the same tier as the previous Love Live video. I'ma be real with y'all, not a fan of this Love Live installment. I know a bunch love it, but I just don't really get it. I think it has quite a few problems that show up mainly in the second season, and I don't really find any of the characters to be as fun as the other Love Lives at all, aside from a few we'll be talking about later. However, there are some good aspects to it, such as how the second season is after a Love Live contest that they lost and are trying another shot at it, which is a unique premise for Love Live standards because most of them just end after the Love Live competition itself. I think it was pretty cool that people weren't signing up for Liella due to the pressure that they had to face because Liella is shooting for such a big tournament, and that was a small arc in of itself in the beginning. Usually the other Love Lives have girls join rather quickly or be picked up like Pokemon, but it does take a while for the first years to join due to their own reasons, and a couple of the new girls get fleshed out decently. Season 2 is pretty weird though. It introduced an antagonist that barely got used or mentioned for most of the show, that I always keep forgetting she exists. More on that later. If I made this video prior to Season 2's release, I'd be right here telling you guys how I like it being the 5 members rather than 9 member shtick. No clue why I decided to go back to the 9 formula, maybe a marketing scheme or just for business, I have no fucking clue. Honestly, I think Season 2 in general just kind of takes away a lot of my enjoyment I had with the cast in Season 1, and regresses them a lot and lessens my opinion on each of them aside from a few we'll mention. Some of the new girls are still decent though. Group dynamic wise, this doesn't really exist with Liella. Muse still reigns on top as being the best group dynamic in this series, though I guess Liella's charm is mainly the character duos or the character arcs, if they fucking exist. But hey, if there's one thing to note, I like how they don't officially get their name until episode 9, so that was pretty cool I guess. We'll be slightly changing the formula and starting with Kanon, the protagonist. I'll give her some points for being a unique protagonist in Love Live verse compared to the others. She isn't the clumsy and ditzy airhead that Chika and Honako were like, and is a lot more down to earth. She also has a talent in singing and originally enjoys it before she even was a school idol, while the other two were just decided to jump into it just to save their school. Kanon has already had stage fright and only got worse when she forgot the lyrics for a song that she was meant to perform in elementary school. I think her arc surrounding this part of her is probably at her best, but that isn't saying much for me because I don't really care about her that much if I'm being frank. Don't get me wrong, she has some nice qualities to her such as being more chill than the other protagonists, and her relationship with Chisato in Season 1. You might be wondering why I specifically said Season 1, but that is because it does not exist aside from that and maybe one scene in Season 2. I really like how they both play off from one another, and they bring out the best from each other. They were both dependent on each other and feel like they need to do more to live up to their best friend. And this is where my issues start to arise. After Season 1, she's mainly a plot device at that point. It's so weird. She's literally the only character of the second years to not get anything for herself after Season 1. It's not like just because she had her character arc, she can't really get anything else. Characters like Chisato, Ren, Cuckoo, and Sumire all had their episodes back in Season 1 and still had moments to shine in Season 2. So why the fuck does Kanon get left out? But hey, at least she got some focus in the last 2 episodes! Kanon was offered a spot to study in Vienna at one of the most prestigious schools in music out there, and it's such a big opportunity to achieve her dreams, and she's been conflicted between the choice of going there and leaving Liella behind, or refusing the offer to stay with the friends she cares for the most. It's some good, much-needed development for Kanon as she's done literally nothing that wasn't just plot convenience, and we got to see Chisato and how she's grown to be more like a president. With the help of the group, she decides to take the offer to study abroad after winning the Love Live. It's an interesting change of pace for Love Live, considering you had a similar thing with Kotori, but she ended up staying Season 3 is down the line as well, so it'll be interesting to see how her character grows from here. Moving on to bigger projects, studying abroad, and seeing how the girls grow without. Why? You had a good thing going right here, man. This was one of the few things I thought was good for Kanon Season 2, only for it to be really fucked this way. Part of me just believes that the writers just had no idea what to go with her further, and she ended up being this character to either recruit new members or fix problems instantly. Like, why the hell is she the one to talk to Natsumi into being a school idol? Why can't we have this spotlight to Kinako, who literally was talking to her seconds before, and instead she just fades into the background like almost every other Liella member. It's also odd because we literally had Chisato decide to be the president and to start trying new things out, but what was the point of that if nothing will be done with it? At this point, Kanon is just there to magically show up and fix a problem or be the person someone to talk to, when you could just make it someone else entirely and it would be working out a lot better. Well, that was a lot of ranting. Overall, I somewhat liked her initially, even if it wasn't much. She had some nice ideas to her character that made her stand out from the other protagonists, but unfortunately a lot of it was just ruined and I just do not care about her at this point. What did they do to you? She is in C. Next up is Chisato, Kanon's best friend. She is the athletic girl who initially wanted to pursue dancing, and coaches Kanon and Kuku early on with their idol shenanigans. I'll be frank, I don't really give a shit about her and I barely have much to say here as well. Expect that a lot when it comes to the Liella girls here, as it is a common thing here. She has a fine arc in the beginning, as she does develop to grow out of her shell thanks to Kanon being there for her and protecting her from bullies, and wants to be able to be independent and do things better than Kanon, so she chose dancing. She revolves her decisions around Kanon whether to be used of her or not, and she almost quit her club because if she lost her contest that means she can't be useful to Kanon. She does eventually join their idol group after winning the tournament. After that, I don't really have much to say. She's mainly in the background and is barely utilized. She does have a fun rap scene in Season 1 that I think is kinda cool. And despite becoming president, it doesn't really amount to much since it's never really used for anything meaningful. Though overall, don't really care about her, though she does have some aspects but done better than Kanon, even if by a slight bit. Throwing her into the C+. In typical Love Live fashion, we're moving on to the student council antagonist, Ren. She's honestly kinda cool. She doesn't really have that much screen time when compared to the other student councils on Love Live, but she is pretty cool. Her arc in Season 1 is fine, I guess, her mother having passed away due to an illness and Ren wanting to assure Yurigauka's lifespan by having new students enrolled to prevent it from shutting down, as well as being short on money. She's reluctant to allow Liella to roam around freely because she assumed her mother regretted her idol days since she couldn't find any record of her mother's days being an idol. She has a neat scene when the girls show her the truth and how her mother adored those days and never actually regretted them. What actually makes me like her a bit is not all that I just mentioned to you guys. It's actually the second season, having her an episode where she just gets addicted to games and kind of just, fucking plays games all the time and doesn't really work when it comes to Liella. I think having her being addicted to games and dedicate an episode to that and showcase that she's not just a model student who doesn't have any interest is pretty funny. I like seeing her have the time of her life playing these games all the while slacking off really badly and trying to hide it from everyone. Since she thinks they'll be livid with her, but it's good to see that they accept that part of her and they aren't really mad. In fact, they're more happy about it because she becomes more relatable to them and doesn't feel like she's from another world. Giving her a B-. She's a character in the Love Live universe, one of the girls of all time. She's played by a voice actor, has lines, is in the anime, and sings, and dances. She also performs in the Love Live competition. She also is a girl, Just like how I felt about Hanayo, it's basically the same case with Kinako. There are only a very, very few things I kind of enjoy about her. I like how that she somehow played an active role in trying to recruit members into Liella, considering nobody was willing to take the pressure of Liella partaking in the Love Live contest. This universe is also kinda neat where she prefers if the second years wouldn't hold back for her sake and instead stick to the original schedule so that they can be at their fullest and be able to be at their best. Aside from that, there's literally nothing else I got left to say. She's not a bad character, just someone I just do not care about and kind of just find boring, so she's getting thrown in the C tier. What the fuck did they do to you, Natsumi? What was originally a very fun and interesting character for Love Live was executed awfully. I actually really enjoyed her selfish, money-hungry hijinks as it added a fun, chaotic layer to the group, and she served as a refreshing antagonist in the Love Live universe since Love Live doesn't really have a malicious antagonist in general. You're gonna notice this a lot when it comes to a superstar, where they have all these interesting ideas that could have been done a lot more, but they end up just executing them super badly, and it's really disappointing. I was really curious to see how they'd go about her character. I was wondering if potentially she would end up being in charge of planning and marketing for them to get more attention and being able to get more people to watch their performances, since she really knew how to bank on the idol craze by filming all sorts of videos about the group, whether it be various shenanigans such as a game night, them training, or even them just introducing themselves. I know that they're just school idols and not actually idols, but they were still trying to garner attention in order to save the school. But nah, since we added 4 new characters to finish the Legendary 9 status up, we need her to be an idol. Already expected it, but I kinda wanna just have some copium, just trying to think maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, if I'm being honest, the training camp episode was set up well. Getting to see the first year start a training camp for themselves in order to surpass their seniors, and also seeing Natsumi's backstory is some good setup. She gets a cool scene when she encourages the other 3 not to give up on their dream, because she can tell that it's possible for them to surpass the second years if they work hard enough. It does set up Natsumi as someone who, despite having all her dreams crushed and basically has given up on dreaming, doesn't really want this to happen to other people. It adds a nice layer to the character, since it shows that she isn't just a complete selfish scumbag wishing suffering on her for others for her failures, and does kind of want people to not end up in the same state as her. It is some pretty good stuff for sure. So how are we going to conclude her characterization? Oh, I don't know. How about randomly just bringing Kanon into the mix, offer her a spot in Liella, and basically tell her, you don't have a dream? Well, just chase ours instead. So what I get from this is, let's ignore the fact that Natsumi literally had all her dreams crushed, essentially having no goals currently, and just join Liella's dream instead. Because why the fuck would you be trying to look at what you want instead? Why are we focusing how Natsumi currently has no direction on life and where she wants to go from here? Natsumi never has even shown a speck of interest in being an idol, like ever. Like, it's not even shown in some tsundere attitude like Mei or Maki from the original have pulled off either. This chick was literally just a YouTuber who excels more in the business and production side of things, even if it's not what she really wanted. I get that a lot of Love Live type of trope is having them not be interested and then joining, but even here it doesn't fucking make sense. Can we talk about how Kinako literally got robbed? Why couldn't she have been the one talking to Natsumi about this? Why Kanon? Kinako was literally talking to her seconds ago, for fuck's sake. It's just not a good scene at all, and just makes me like Natsumi a whole lot less, as well as Kanon. This has got to be some of the worst writing I've seen in a character so far in the series. Fucking Maki's reasoning for joining Muse made more sense than this shit. But hey, at least she's a fun character with a personality, so it's not a complete zero. It was fun seeing her take on all kinds of jobs and making random cameos in the background with some English on top. Also, it's kinda comically amazing how Natsumi legit got away with all her shit. I don't think there was ever an apology for her actions, and her awful behavior just kinda was left aside. Just a very, very disappointing approach with Natsumi's character, with what could have been one of the best Love Live characters turned out to be just one of the biggest letdowns in the series. I had her in B+ prior to this episode since I really liked her presence and character, but now she's in C+. We've been really going at it clowning on these girls so far, huh? Let's talk about somebody I think is a good character. Cuckoo. So she's a fun optimist and is the reason why Liella exists in the first place, as she's recruited Kanon and asked her to be an idol with her. What's not to like when Cuckoo's like this, man? She's pretty entertaining, especially when she's interacting with Sumire. I will admit though, it did get a bit repetitive in the second season since she did get reduced to just only arguing with Sumire at one point, and it kind of just didn't really make sense at times with how she kind of just attacked her randomly when she was trying to call out Natsumi. But it did get a lot better at the 9th episode of season 2. Cuckoo made a deal with her family that if she failed to get results in the Love Live, she's going back to Shanghai. The only person that knew this was Sumire, and she really showed that she cares a lot about Cuckoo, to the point where she didn't even want to be the center back in season 1 when she just wanted it the most, because she feels like she can't live up to being the center, especially the fact that it could risk Cuckoo to leave if she fails at it, which was a big burden for her. And then there's her suggesting that only the first years perform for the competition to ensure victory. And there's a great scene between the two that's pretty emotional and just really highlights how close these two are. They're always bickering with each other, but they're looking out for one another. And it just shows how thankful Sumire is to Cuckoo because Cuckoo gave her the push she needed to finally pursue being the center at one point. I really like this. It adds some nice layers to both characters and make their dynamic just more than just frenemies than that just non-stop bicker. It's probably one of my favorite parts of the series. It's really good shit. Why did Natsumi just kinda have to get the short end of the stick? Overall, Cuckoo's a fun character with some good characterization to her, and I don't really have any issues with her. She's in B. So with the way these two characters are structured, I'm going to be combining their segments. They're some of the better Liella girls and are one of the few characters that I won't be clowning on. So starting with Mei, she's essentially the outgoing tsundere of the group. Because of course there's one tsundere for every love life. She's a closeted idol fan, always watching Liella's performances and gushing about them, but is quick to deny her fanatic behavior when Shiki suggests her to join Liella. Meanwhile, Shiki's more of the reserved and quiet girl that's part of the science club, creating a bunch of wild inventions like this shit right here. Shiki was somebody who preferred being alone, reading her books and whatnot, while Mei hung out with her friend groups, but couldn't help but approach Shiki when she saw her all by herself. It's only when she realizes that she wasn't a fan of being told who to like and who not to like that she prefers hanging out with Shiki rather than the others, and they hit it off since. And you can tell that they're really close. I do like how Shiki actually wants to see how Mei's hobby is for herself by trying out idol activities out for herself, and how she really wishes for Mei to enjoy herself to the fullest. She would rather her join Liella than stick to the science club just so she wouldn't feel lonely. They are both kinda cool, especially Shiki's absurd hijinks when it comes to her creations. It's a bit unfortunate that they mainly just be thrown aside like most of the other girls in here, but at least their content is solid enough. Mei does play a somewhat bigger role when she finds out Ren is into gaming and kind of is involved in that, and it gets a bit more screen time, but I'm gonna just be putting both in the B- tier. Now for my favorite character alongside Cuckoo, Sumire. She has a history of being a child actor and always yearned to be the center and main role of the stage she's been a part of, but never ends up getting the main roles and instead just gets background ones. Sumire is pretty fun. From her egotistical know-it-all personality to her galaxy catchphrase is cool to watch, as well as interactions with Cuckoo. Even though they get a lot weaker later on, it elevates a lot with season 2 and episode 9. She's probably the character with the biggest amount of focus in Liella, having about 3 episodes to her in total, and I do think she has some interesting qualities to her. Despite not showing it, she cares a lot about the group and tries her best not to risk any chances of letting them down, especially Cuckoo. And I think it's good to have her be afraid of being the center even after wanting it for so long. It adds some nice layer of realism to her, since you never really grasp that kind of situation until it really hits you, and then you start to get nervous about it when the time comes. There are some wasted opportunities to her. We could have had an interesting relationship between her and Natsumi, since she is the one to call Natsumi out on her bullshit early on, but nah, leave it to Kanon to just magically solve everything on her own instead. They do bicker like later on, second half of season 2, but it's mainly just comedic factors rather than anything meaningful. Overall, she's cool and one of the better parts of Superstar for me. She is in B. I should have done this in the original Love Live video with Arise, but I'll just be adding a segment for the rivals, and since I literally do not care about either of these two rivals, I'm just combining them both. They're both ass, they both suck. Sunny Passion had an interesting role when it came to Love Live rivals. They were the unreachable goal that Arise was to Muse, but also being the friendly rivals that Saint Snow was to Aquars. It's too bad that they literally do nothing with it and the Ghost Girl just beats them off screen, and that's the end of them. All 3 of them are in C tier, I don't care. I mentioned this before, but I'm not really the best at describing music, unless it's about discussing lyrics and dissecting them or something of the sort. None of the songs really stood out to me aside from a few such as Nonfiction and Song for All, but that's kind of it. Lyrics don't really tie much into the characters or adding much depth to them as well as School Isla Project did, but I could be wrong and have forgotten about it. Couldn't be the actual goated Nonfiction song, if you know you know. Not good. Pretty disappointed how this ended up being, as it is the first Love Live series to have such a negative review from me. even though we have reviewed only 2 of them so far. It had a lot of interesting ideas that could have been tackled and executed way better, but it fumbled the bag horribly by wanting to bank on the 9 group members' shenanigans to keep the trend, and being unable to go through with a lot of the interesting arcs and stories they could have went through had they not gone back on them. If you notice, a lot of these issues stem from Season 2, as if you see, I have given a lot of the positive to Season 1 aside from the exceptions such as the Sumire Heanna episode and Ren's episode. So the final score is going to be a... wait, you know what? I have a much better idea to show you what the score is.
Mid! Mid!
So yeah, that's just gonna be it. If you enjoyed the content here, do leave a like, comment, subscribe. I'm trying to make just more content here and all that stuff. So be on the lookout for maybe the next Love Live. I'm not sure which one we'll do, or if any other video down the line. And with that, I'll be leaving now. So peace out. Have a good day.